ladies and gentlemen, is the CIO of Panda retail company, Savola Group, Piyush Chowhan. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please ask you to take a seat, please, out of respect for our next panelists? Because we won't begin the panel until we have a quieter room. Perhaps some help from the team would be fantastic if we can ask everyone to sit down. It's happening, I promise. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. So at the front, if I could ask you to please take your seats. We're about to begin. So Piyush, it's over to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning. I would request if people can be seated so that we can have an interesting discussion around the tech vision for Saudi 2030. Yeah. If I may try to begin it in terms of the vision 2030, which is a big and a bold vision for the kingdom. And as we heard in the previous panel by the CEOs, there are a few takeaways that I want to kind of use as segue into this panel discussion. The word around digital, and people said everything is digital, which means the people here have to enable the vision of the CEO, which is so much more important. The second is the key takeaway was be bold. Yeah, and that to me struck a very strong chord to say that the biggest challenges that we have in today's context is around digital. Yeah, we have been seeing a lot of buzz around digital transformation in enterprises, but believe me, when I speak to a lot of my CIO friends all across the globe, I would say digital is tough. It's not very easy. Yeah. While some gentleman was saying the cost of doing business has shrunk, which I fully agree, but kind of putting digital to the true sense is not that easy, and that is what the organizations are going through as we speak. And if we were to achieve the 2030 vision, which is laid down by the kingdom, I think tech and digital will play a very important role. So if I may start with the extreme right from Sunil, which manages the largest fashion footprint in the kingdom. What do you see from a evolution of retail perspective, which will enable the tech transformation within the kingdom? If you can just throw some light on that.
Good morning, everyone. I think just to start, and where I think Piyush started with, the comment saying that what is impossible or what is possible for us to take this digital transformation journey, right? I think most important part for me, I think I've been here for last 13, 14 years in my second stint in Saudi. And what I've seen is, a big transformation in terms of the digital outlook, right? When we talk to the boards of the companies right now, I think everyone is talking about digital transformation per se. And it depends on whom you're talking to and which companies and which sectors or which domains you're talking to. So digital transformation is one theme that is being playing around, I think, quite frequently right now, and that's the right thing to happen at this moment of time, considering that, Saudi economy is growing, tourism is growing, 2030 happens to be the big icing on the cake for competing against the best of the best world, right? Competition is going to increase. So having said that, I think more important from a digital transformation is the change management that I think, I perceive that is the most important aspect that we need to look into. When I say change management, I think it's all about changing the culture of how we approach the customer side of it, how do we approach the entire product side of it, from a retailing perspective. That is one piece. Second piece is the whole dynamics of human evolution, right? In terms of training, in terms of ensuring that they understand what it's digital all about and how can digital transform the entire organization. I think this, as we speak, is happening, and that's a good trend to be in. Where I can leave in a thought is, if you see a couple of last 2 years, 3 years where, Saudi has been making the right noise in terms of acquisitions, in terms of ensuring that tourism grows big time in the market. When I say tourism, it's bound to invest in retail, entertainment, and all other zones which are related to tourism. So I think digital transformation is one thing that we can't miss out. Point number two is change management is inevitable. We need to ensure that the workforce and the task force of people here are there and taking up this digital transformation as a part of the DNA of the company. And that is where I think I look forward for this change as we speak.
Thank you. I think you've laid it very well around changing the culture of the people, doing change management, which is so very important from a retailer perspective. So just to give you a perspective of the kind of formation of this panel, so we have some people who are retailers or part of the retail industry, and there are certain people who are enablers to the digital vision. So we'll get both the perspective as part of this panel so that we balance it out and make sure that we get somebody who is going to adopt the digital technology, and there is somebody who is either selling or enabling the businesses with the digital technology. So if I may ask you, the second retailer in the panel here, which is around food and quick service and those kind of stuff. So what do you see, how do you see the tech landscape changing in retail?
Hello everyone. I believe tech landscape is evolving quite big time here. When we are talking about digital transformation here, basically, I mean, it's all about customers for us. So you can see a lot of penetration from the customers are happening online. People are really buying online and trying to get that product or service that they are talking about. Plus, at the same time, you already have those customers available offline as well. So the whole growth of e-commerce has come a long way in the last 2 to 3 years. And the tech enabling here in terms of not giving those tools for having us e-commerce on the forefront, but also enabling the business as well as the customer to have a more unified or a seamless experience across both their physical and digital worlds in the retail industry is quite a big trend here. So basically people talk about a lot about omni-channel. But when you talk about omni-channel, it's more about what the customer is doing online, how he is going to do it offline, whether he's offline or whether it's online. So this is one key trend which I believe is shaping up the whole retail industry here, whether you talk about fashion or F&B as such. This definitely gives rise to the personalization aspect as well. So customer is looking for more of a one-to-one interaction with them. So there are a lot of emerging technologies that is helping, like you talk about AI, you talk about AR, you talk about VR, virtual reality, which are all playing a very important role in helping not only to enable that kind of a personalization for these customers, but at the same time giving that kind of a service to those customers which are the big backbone for the businesses as well. So these are a few of the trends which I could think about of talking here in this panel.
Excellent, and I think these are all very well-known things which every retailer has to adopt, and I think he touched upon two very important points. One is understanding the customer. Yeah. Now, one of the mistakes which almost all the retailers have done in the past is without understanding the customer, try to build the personalization engine, which will never happen. And you buy a personalization engine and then you suddenly realize that I don't have enough good customer data for it to manage and understand the customer well. So I think putting the right context of the technology is very important. The second point which you mentioned is the concept of omni-channel, which has been there for quite a while. And just wanted to get a sense of what does the audience think. How many of you think that retailers are truly omni-channel? Just by raise of hand, if people can raise their hand and show that, yes, retailers have become omni-channel in the true context. Just by the raise of the hand. There's only one or two, okay? Which means that a large part of the retail is yet to get transformed into omni-channel, yeah? Which I think is a reality. I also believe that everybody is trying to be truly omni-channel, trying to merge the online and the physical space. And in that context, if I may were to move to the next part of the panel, if we were to ask you from Yangp, what do you see? Are people going online? And how is the omni-channel evolution happening? And how are you trying to bridge that gap?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Thank you very much. And yes, absolutely, we can see that omnichannel is playing the absolutely paramount role in the transformation of the retail. And having built a digital-first grocery retailer in the other side of the world, we do have like something about 450, 500 dark stores. We now see that the retailers are starting to bring the digital technologies of the online world into the offline world. So with the things like self-checkout, which my colleague here is implementing in this country, and the things like computer vision, where we bring the technological tools which have only been available in the digital world first, now into the offline, that enables retailer to give the true omni-channel experience to their customers in the offline world, which was not possible before. Now, with the modern technology, we can track the real-time conversions on the stores. We can see how many people have passed by any particular shelf and how many of them, how they reacted, what they have bought, and with all this data in real time being fed into the integrated systems, we can provide the true omni-channel experience which was not possible before. And I think one of the greatest things which Kingdom is enabling, which is quite a unique environment here, is that the Saudi Arabia is bringing exceptional companies, exceptional talent from all around the world who have already been there, done this, implemented, proven the model, as well as there is abundance of venture capital money which is enabling the new startups and the new companies to take that risk, test it, prove it, and then the established companies can take something that has been proven locally by the startups as well as by the international companies who are very welcome here, and we feel very welcome. So, thank you.
Excellent. So I think you again touched upon two key enablers for the Kingdom's tech vision. One is attracting the best talent, allowing the entrepreneurial spirit by kind of nurturing the startup ecosystem, which is a very, very important pillar for any large digital transformation as a company or a country to happen. So if I may now move to Mustafa and try to find out what does he see. You are in the self-checkout space and similar technologies, which is on the kind of convergence of physical and digital, and you are trying to create an ecosystem which is more truly omnichannel. And one thing which I picked up from Evgeny is that digital first retail. Now, that is another concept which everybody wants to do it, but it's very difficult to do it. Yeah, if you are, so for example, we represent Panda, the largest retailer in the kingdom, a 50-year-old legacy. We have large stores. We have almost millions of customers who walk into our stores every day, try to do shopping. Now to implement a digital first methodology always may not be that easy. So what do you see, Mustafa, and how are you cracking that with retailers when you go and kind of sell to them or enable them?
Of course, of course. Thank you for the question, Piyush. Thank you for having me, guys, and for your time. I think you asked the question, right, that how many are truly omni-channel. I guess that had a small response or not a very positive response. So the question is how many want to be, and that's probably overwhelmingly positive, right? It's probably more than 80%, if not over 90%. And that's, the important thing, that the desire is there. The pull from the market to be omni-channel, to be digital is there, but the question is how, right? Just like they were discussing at the previous panel, I found the disagreement very interesting, right? On one side, you had the gentleman from Lulu saying that, it's so unprofitable to do e-commerce, and it doesn't make sense in the industry for us to provide home delivery. But the gentleman from Carrefour mentioning that, it's just a matter of how to do it, because it's no longer a question of why do we do it. That's been proven. We have to do it. Now what do we do to make it possible? And that just shows the difference, between sometimes the pioneering versus the followers. That'll happen with anything, right? With any industry. I think when it comes to digitalization in this market, particularly the Kingdom and the wider Middle East, we've seen that focus on profitability, on sustainable kind of digital services, right? And the question is always driving down to why. When it comes to self-checkout, the reason I think that there's a big boom is it's related to the cost of labor rising so rapidly with Saudiization, with other policies, with rising cost of living, which is natural and which happens in any of the markets as we've seen through the West coming east, right? You will see that very soon also happening in places like India. It's already impacting places like Singapore, Malaysia. So the rise of cost of labor together with payment methods where cash is becoming less than 20%, less than 10%. And then finally, you have very important, which is infrastructure, right? The back end to connect with. But this also presents the challenge that I think we were discussing before, that you might have the best technology on the front end, but it needs to operate within the retailer's ecosystem, right? This is partly why when I started 8 years ago, I was, of course, 22 and foolish, thinking we'll get to where we are today in 1 year. And I had no idea about that ecosystem, the integrations that were required. So for anyone doing the digital services, sure, you might be able to do a POC, something very light, low on the integration, and prove the point. That's very important. It's important for retailers to continue to experiment with that across all those verticals you talked about, Faisal, you know, on AR, VR, AI, whatever you're thinking about, whether front-end use cases, customer use cases, staff-based use cases. But after that, the Pareto principle, the 2080, will apply in which ones you can actually take to roll out, because they have to work within the existing infrastructure. Anything that requires a complete change, I think will just be non-viable, right? You might have some retailers force themselves into it, but then making that profitable, getting the value out of it becomes so difficult, it'll not become mainstream. And really, for any technology, the true value for the whole ecosystem comes when, you know, everybody starts to look into it and adopt it.
Excellent. And I think you kind of very well said in terms of how to integrate with the whole ecosystem, and that is where the true omnichannel will come into life. And I just want to pick up the point that you left with is e-commerce profitable? Yeah, that's a very, very important question which every retailer is going through, right? We are seeing plateauing of e-commerce sales worldwide, which is a phenomenon which is happening. For the last 5-7 years, we have seen excellent boom of e-commerce worldwide, but it has plateaued. Some of the markets are seeing a decline in e-commerce. Obviously, the volume will grow. People, and I think we saw in the previous panel, there was division between the views. Some people were saying that it is not going to be profitable, but somebody said, but that is the future, so we have to be in there. Yeah, and we have one gentleman here, Rami, who enables this kind of stuff. Yeah. What do you think from a perspective, if you want to draw why people are talking, saying that e-commerce is not profitable, and how do you segue into, because if I understand from my experience in retail, a large part of e-commerce non-profitability is coming from the fulfillment part. Yeah, fulfillment engines are not as optimal as they should be. Yeah, or either they are not well oiled to give you the right cost value proposition which is there. So what do you see when you go? You have been in this industry, you have seen the evolution. Where do you stand, and how is Swisslog helping some customers?
Thank you. It's an interesting time right now because there's a lot of assumptions out there about what the industry should look like, how should we serve it, what models should work. And I think we're going to start with there's not one size fits all. If we try to kind of answer it with one solution, then we don't understand, one, that the customers have different needs in different areas, and they will have different requirements. A customer in Riyadh will have different requirements than a customer in Red Sea development, where we're doing something different. A 19-year-old buying something with a 2-hour expectation because he saw it online and wants it delivered because they have a party tonight is not like when a parent wants to order food for the next week. So those patterns still exist. So if we try to answer it with the same way and fill it with the same way and have order fulfillment, it's not going to work. So we'll step back. It depends on how you approach the problem. So we would like to partner with somebody to try to craft a solution that fits their needs in terms of their approach. If you're in food and beverage, retail, and e-commerce, that could be multiple solutions working together. One to fulfill one problem, which is that 2-hour delivery, and a different one feeding the rest of it. Because in the end of the day, what problem are we fixing? And if you're not addressing that fact, then we're actually fixing the wrong problem and adding wrong costs. Yes, if we try to just replace labor and try to get an ROI off labor, we'll struggle. Labor is still inexpensive here, and yes, it's increasing, but that's not the problem we're fixing. What we are actually addressing is automation is required, whether that's in the front end, in terms of how you take all these transactions and make it work seamlessly, all the way to the back end from within the facility, because we're not just replacing labor, but we're enabling different things to work together within software, within robotics, within AI. Returns management. That's critical, right? We're in retail. Returns are nice because I'm going to buy 6 things. I like 4. I'm going to return 2. Our current retail operations are not designed for that efficiently. That's how you lose money. How do you manage within food and beverage things including expirations and promotions, and you're going to drive things in different times? You're going to have a peak at some point. You're going to say, I'm going to push this product. These promotions have to be integrated in. And how does your organization seamlessly do that without effort? Effort is expensive. And that's where technology companies who manage order fulfillment well can bring you best-in-class solutions that are developed somewhere else, and we bring them here. But we have to answer the right problem. What is it we're trying to fix? And we work together. We all can work together on different pieces as long as we understand what is the end goal.
No, I think you put it very nicely to say that try to contextualize technology for the solution that you're looking for, and that's very important. And in today's world, and since we are representing the CIO's panel, one of the biggest threat that CIOs face is something called as shadow IT. Yeah. Now, buying software has become so easy, so easy. The guy in the store can buy a software which nobody in the company will know about it. Yeah. Because it's a SaaS, it's $30 a month, you just go and buy it, and then you have one set of things which are running, and which I think is not allowing this concept of, is this solution fit for purpose? And I think, to me, that is very important from an organization maturity perspective. How are you trying to create a digital ecosystem within the enterprise so that everything work together in the context of trying to solve a problem, and not looking as if we just go and bought a fancy AR solution which will never integrate with your backend and will serve no purpose. So I think that holistic view of solutioning, holistic view of what that customer perspective is very important in terms of buying and choosing a software. And if I may want to come to you, Rachid, and then we'll try to open up with more panelists. You are in this integrated planning, supply chain, which is supply chain planning for e-commerce is very different. Supply chain planning for physical retail is very different. For grocery, it is different. For fashion, it is different. For food, it is different. How do you try to bring that to context, and what is it that you guys are doing differently?
Yeah, so we talk a lot about segmented supply chains. So within one business will have different supply chains, not just one supply chain. And for each supply chain, you will have different parameters, different way of actually approaching the customer, and different way of actually approaching the data internally. So today, when we look at how generative AI, machine learning is enabling a transformation, it will depend whether the business is offline, whether it's online, whether how do you collaborate with their suppliers. If we look, for example, at offline business, there are different ways of actually using this technology to enable the transformation. And it starts from the customer journey. With each single touch point with the customer, we should try to maximize the customer preferences and make sure that the customers are happy. So it starts with having the right assortment. Today, you cannot have the same assortment in all the stores, because people that goes to the stores are different, just like you mentioned, right? So it starts from there, and then using this machine learning AI the solution can actually tell you what is the right assortment in each location. That's one. Second, pricing. Pricing can be dynamic, and it can be dynamic depending on the location, depending on the person. We can actually make sure that the pricing is the right pricing for that customer depending on different influencing factors. The other one is the whole forecasting. I think for many years, people have tried statistical algorithms to forecast, make sure that they are actually, they have 100% accuracy when it comes to demand. So we can today take into account all kinds of parameters like the analytics that you have in the website. We take into account the locations, customer buying behaviors, all that can be injected to make sure that we are forecasting accurately the demand. Another aspect where it can be used is the connective mirrors, right? So you try, let's say, in fashion, you try a trousers. I don't like it. What is the immediate recommendation the system can provide me? So that's something also that we have started to work on with different retailers. And then you have everything related to promotions. Today, if you look to promotions are very generic, very general. So you have one promotion for everyone. So we can actually have personalized promotions. So for dedicated people, that's something that we can build in order to make sure that everything is about customization and personalization. And if we go to the other side, which is the online, it's slightly different. There are other different use cases in order to make sure that we are maximizing this customer journey. So everything related to fulfillment. So where do we stock in order to make sure that the cost is low and we are also, the customer service level is high. So there are different algorithms actually that helps us to do that. But I do agree with all of you. So in a sense that whatever we put out there, there are many use cases, but we need to understand what is the problem, what is the impact on our top line, and what is the ROI behind it. And we always need to start with pilots, POCs, MVPs, because otherwise we are trying to boil the ocean. And sometimes many projects, how many, 90% of projects fails at the end of the day? It should just be, we should always try step by step, and then prove it in one store, in one location, before we can actually generalize it.
Excellent, and I think very interesting insights, which are kind of leading me into the next part, which is I was listening to the first panel in the morning, and I was listening to a CEO, and he said, "What are the things that you have taken as initiative?" And it was very kind of pleasing to hear that. The CEO was saying that I found that data was not available in the organization, and the first initiative that he took was to build a data lake. Now that is music to any CIO, yeah. Whereas on the other side, the CEOs will ask, "I want this dashboard, I want this information right then and there." But for organizations to understand that, to get that, to your point, you should start collecting your data, you should start processing your data, and then you should start using modern cloud-enabled technologies to build data platforms. And I think, to me, that is a very, very big enabler for any kind of tech vision, because one of the things which I've learned is, while the term which is very popular is data is the new oil, yeah, but I say data actually is the new soil, yeah, and there's a slight difference. Oil will only lubricate things, right, or propel things and things like that, whereas soil will nurture your processes. And that is where, if you nurture your processes, if you nurture your digital transformation strategy on this soil, which is led with data, I think you will get wonders out of it. So just wanted to hear from the retailers, how are you building, if you can be a little brief, how are you building your data journey, and how is it going to be the key pillar of your transformation?
I think, Piyush, you're bang on when you said, data is the new oil or new soil. And this is the first time I'm hearing this term, but thank you for putting this across. I think the most important part is, I think as we all said, right, Saudi transformation has to happen is, we are monolithic companies at the end of the day, right? We carry a legacy of 30, 40 years. Different brand plays, different domains, different segments, right? So, practically running a digital transformation program doesn't work, as we say, right? And the most important for me, and what we have been doing in Cenomi Retail is, right now is, right as you put in, is the data lake strategy. And when I say data lake, it's a combination of products, pricing, assortment, inventory, customer, you name it, every dynamics has to be captured there. I mean, that's where I think that the first interaction happens. Given the complexity of, as you said, there are enormous IT applications out there, right? When you take an IT landscape, compare it to last 10 years, it's very complex depending on which area you play in. Now, typically when you play omni-channel, there are a lot of dynamics that we need to work out. Traditionally, ERPs are not geared up for your omni-channel plays and, particularly playing the data lake part of it. So it's very imperative for us to ensure that the data is being built robustly. Once that theme is played across, right? And if there is a kind of an acceptance among the organization that this data is good enough for us to take decisions, I think then practically you are making your roadmap clear for artificial intelligence to play, right? For me, it's like garbage in, garbage out, right? If the data is not correct, I don't think so we should be doing anything on AI or RPS for that matter. Today the norm is automation is a key component, but I get sometimes worried because the point is if I start doing RPA in the name of RPA, as you said, technologies are available. But can I do it per se today with a direct fitment of the data? No. So I think very important is the data has to be clear, readable. When I say readable, it has to be accountable. And once it is there, I think the process of RPAs and automations and AIs, all those things can work together. So yes, we are building up this as we speak right now. And there is a fair amount of acceptance among our community, so to speak, and saying that data will take up us to the next level of decision making. And I think that's where we're working on.
Excellent.
I think just adding to this.
If you can be a little brief so that we can move fast.
Sure. Just adding to this point which Sunil has already mentioned, I believe data was already there. We already had the tools to, which can read data.
But if I may, just so that audience is clear, data is there. Yeah, there was a Harvard study which was done a couple of years back. I don't think it has changed quite a lot. What is the percentage that you are all part of organizations? What is the percentage of data that is being used for decision making within an enterprise? Anybody can make a guess what percentage of data is being used in an enterprise? Anyone? Huh? 1%? Oh, that's really very bad. Anybody from the panel here?
I think it should be around, let's say, 10 to 20% within that range.
That is the number that people are talking about, and which is usable. And I think what Sunil was raising a point is the data usable? The data is there. It is lying somewhere in one corner which nobody can see, look, or feel, right? So building that data strategy is going to be very important. Sorry to intervene, but I thought that it's very important for people to understand that usage of data still in enterprises is very low, and that transformation has to happen.
I think the maturity is there, but still people are not using it 100%. As I said, data is already there. We already had the tools to read the data, but nobody was doing it. And everything happens, whether you talk about AI or other emerging technologies that we speak about, everything happens based on data. So if you don't read that data and make those informed decisions, then I believe no technology will help you in solving your problem. So at the end of the day, it's more about just making sure that you're on top of what all information you already have and take those steps forward in ensuring that other technologies fall in place within your roadmap here.
Absolutely. Thank you for this. And I think if I may were to come to you, Rami, the supply chain execution bit is going through massive transformation. People are talking about robots, people are talking about all kind of automation. We'll have nobody in the warehouse is what I've been told. I've kind of not seen a warehouse where there are no people, but there are stories that there will be no people in the future in the warehouse, everything will happen automated. What's your view? Where do you see this technology evolving?
Well, dark warehouses do exist. You don't need people to run many functions in the facility. But again, we go back to what problem we're trying to fix. In many cases, there are functions that have to be done with people due to the nature of the product. If you have to prepare it in a way for shipment, package in a way, or that needs to be done in a nice way. So let's say you buy a nice package in retail and you want to ship somebody a hat. You want to ship it in a nice box with a bow on it. Yeah, a person will touch it. But at the same time, the order fulfillment side does not have to be laborsome. There's no decisions have to be made. Machines will make those decisions, and that's where data comes in. We want to enable the operation to succeed without having to stop, make a decision that could be good or bad. The most challenging part in any transaction is it accurate? Is it there? Right? You go out there, you want to buy it, you want to move it. We don't know if it's there, we don't know if it's the right one. If you eliminate those two obstacles, your opportunities increase immensely, and that's where you can really have a return. And that's what we help enable. We make the process work seamlessly with our software, with our robotics, so that you don't have to have people making decisions that are not required. They will still be involved in things that need human interference. But you don't need a human being to sit there and tell you, do I have 6 or 1? Is it blue? Is it pink? That's not their decision to make. The system will know. We scan it, it's there. But then we want them to have the customer touch in the end, where that's required. We want to enable people to help so the experience is enjoyable at the end and the customer gets it a nice way. But they don't need to sit there and carry a 30 kg box and move it from point A to point B and waste time. So I think we work hand in hand, especially in the kingdom, that the vision has been created so we can present that experience in a nice way in different fashions.
Sure. And I think there cannot be a technology panel without talking about the biggest buzzword which was launched in 2023. What is the biggest buzzword for 2023? Any guess? AI. Okay. AI was there for 40 years. So yeah, generative AI, as they call it. Yeah. To take the beast out of that box of AI. Right. Now, by the raise of hand, how many of you believe that it's a hype? Just if I can understand, is generative AI a hype? Pin drop silence, which means that everybody's going to use it one form or the other, which is quite encouraging. Yeah. How many of you believe that by 2025 it will not have the same death as metaverse? Not have the same depth. Okay? So there's only one, which means everybody else believes that it will die by 2025. And so
I don't think it's dead. It's probably silent. Even in the case of the metaverse, I was one of the first ones who said that there is no relevance to retail in a panel like this about a year ago. But I think obviously every technology goes through its first hype cycle. The big difference, generative AI versus metaverse, is that generative AI use cases have already gone to the people for practical purposes, right, in everyday lives. Whereas in the metaverse, that was a question. Even with Swisslog spending 10 billion, only having less than 100 active users, it didn't make sense. Right? Whereas with generative AI, the active users are there, the use cases are coming up more naturally, which is why there is a question that even if it doesn't have the same hype as today, there might still be the use, right? There is the utility as a question. The hype is there, no doubt. But if you put the hype to one side and you consider the practical utility of it, the utilization of what people are doing with it, it's there, right? And in a couple of years, it might be as synonymous as using Excel or Word, that you will have some use of it. It won't be as crazy as some of the things we're hearing about right now. Those will take time to develop. But there will be the simple use cases which will be there even then. And it's a question of the feedback loop that you get back from the market, right? I think, Piyush, you mentioned how you don't want the shadow IT, you don't want someone sitting in a store to buy a $30 a month software. But at the same time, that's interesting as data for you to make a decision about why did they do that, right? You can't build a custom use case for every customer out there because no product can function then. But that's also why you wouldn't let every store just buy their own software, right? You would use that though as feedback as why did they buy it? What within your current solution stack doesn't solve that problem and you go back out to it? The same way as generative AI today is solving certain things for students out there, for researchers, for people like you and me who are using it to solve certain specific things, right? Its unanimity on the use case definitely helps.
Excellent. So if we just go round robin and
just
maybe
to
start
add
from
on,
there
just
very
to add
briefly.
on to what, just to add on to what he said, I think it's a gray area for sure right now as we speak. And as he said, the technology is evolving as we speak, right? And every technology has got its own standard norms and time to take it up. Adaptability is the key. Use cases are important to develop here. I think as technology leaders, we're sitting here, I think it's imperative for us to ensure that we take it up to the next level. We have been speaking about AI to some extent, and there was a lot of skepticism 3 years, 4 years back about how do we practically put AI into this. And today, if you speak, relevantly, there are good progressive organizations who are adopting AI, right? There have been good use cases that has come out. And I'm pretty much sure 2 years down the line, I think, when the people understand what is generative AI all about, right? And when people like us can explain them in a better way, I think this is going to develop as we speak right now.
And if I may, and this is where I have a little problem. People have confused between generative AI and AI, right? AI was always there. It's evolving with the cloud, it's evolving with compute and everything, which has been a natural progression. I'm pretty sure all the players will say that we use AI, yeah, in one form or the other. I don't know how much they use it, but at least everybody starts claiming, even people say Microsoft Word uses AI, yeah, and so on and so forth. So AI as a machine learning model, as a neural network, was existing, is existing, and will exist. There's no doubt about it. Now, how much of a generative? So to put it in context, can I have a situation in which I ask somebody, I ask a machine, what is my next promotion going to be? And I don't do anything, and it gives me the right promotion to be applied. I think it is a little far and far-fetched from that perspective. Yeah, it will give me options which a human brain should be able to decipher and make a choice. So it is enabling people to make a choice, and which is coming to your context to say that what is the solution that you are trying to solve for, which is very important, rather than saying that everything will be done by so-called generative AI and it is a panacea for anything and everything under the sun. I think that is the distinction which people need to make between AI as a technology, as a core enabler, rather than generative AI, which is kind of giving you answers to some of the very easy things which people want to listen to and kind of use it in their daily life, but still make decisions based on their knowledge and wisdom which is there.
We heard a lot about recently about hallucinations of ChatGPT, right? So we did in our company, we did a test of taking all the data using ChatGPT, OpenAI, and we actually realized when we did the beta testing that the answers that the solution provides, sometimes they are crazy. I mean, they are not, you will find, like, for example, you ask the question, what is the most selling product I have? You get answers that are not actually correct. And then if there is no person who is actually verifying the result, making sure that this is the right result, then you will take decisions and they are wrong.
There's no way to verify.
Yeah.
The unfortunate part is you believe that because of the hype, whatever the answer you are getting is more or less right. It is right in most of the cases, but there may be cases where it may not be right also. So how do you balance that and manage it?
I think it's important that we kind of look at it from a different perspective. It's a tool. And if we don't understand it's a tool, it can be dangerous. Excel is a tool. Oracle is a tool. You teach it, you get information from it, we make strategic decisions from it, it's a tool. So, I'm sorry, ChatGPT is a great tool, but it's not gonna run my business. It's not gonna tell us what to do next. We're not gonna go put in something, what's our strategy for Swisslog for Middle East for the next 5 years. That will never happen, right? Because in the end of the day, we're gonna have discussions. We're gonna get information, we're gonna work together, and we're gonna build the strategy together based on what we need. But generative AI does still work as a tool in smaller areas, and that's where we use it for. We want, and it's not just machine learning, we want decision-making to happen in a systemic manner. We don't have to teach it. It's self-learning, proper AI, and it does it where you bring millions of SKU for retail that continuously come in, and we don't have to teach it. We don't have to tell it color or size or shape or where it's at, and it will figure that out. That is a good use of that tool. So we just have to keep it in a framework that makes sense.
Perfect. Closing remarks.
Yeah, if you let me just expand on this one, I absolutely loved how you said that AI, this is a tool. It's a magic, but it is a tool. So how the right way of using the AI is something like a challenge we are all facing in this world now. And I think one of the approaches could be just look at it as a tool and the prospect of every single P&L line, right? Okay, so we want to increase our absolute top line, personalizations, right? So we put AI head to head with the human and we say, is the personalizations, the upsells, the meal deals, and the things which the AI is offering, are they affecting your P&L better than the responsible person in charge of this particular line? And then check it. Demand forecasting. is your person in charge of the demand forecasting is better. With our technology, we get our AI, for example, in demand forecasting to run for 3-4 months before we let it into the field, and we compare its real performance against the human before we let it do. And then, once it outperforms the human, specifically in this field, in this area of responsibility, we give it to AI. Now, and the same thing with the cost saving. When we are trying to optimize the cost of deliveries or the cost of picking, can AI plan your shifts of couriers, your shifts of pick packing better than the human who has been doing this for ages? And this is, I guess, the one of the ways of how to look at AI as a tool and actually use this tool to empower the responsible and competent humans inside the organization. And then it comes down to the CIOs to make sure that they can manage this and that they can put them together in the right way to empower them.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I think with that, we will have to conclude the panel. If I were to just summarize some of the key points, because we are talking about the tech vision which will enable the Saudi 2030 vision, one of the things which we heard is building people capability, building change is going to be extremely important. Try to look at from a solution context, don't look at from a technology context. Then we heard about using the technology which is enabling, or which is enabled by data. Yeah, don't just go and start building endpoint solutions without your data strategy in place. Then we heard about, from Faisal, about a lot of things, AR, VR. Use it in the right context and try to build a digital native omni-channel retail, which is what I tell always. What is my dream? My dream is to build a digital native omni-channel retail as a business. Now, it will take 10 years, 15 years for retailers to really achieve that. Only time can tell. But what will solve and create a tech vision is to creating a digital native omni-channel retail which can kind of touch each and every part of customers' lifestyle to serve them better and serve them for a better lifestyle. Thank you. It was an engaging panel.
Thank you, Piyush.
And I hope everyone enjoyed it and have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Right, we are going to get a group photograph very quickly to wrap up that panel. Dead ahead, he's right in front of you there. Perfect.